can't find anyone.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the second International Katara Bullet Arena. My name is Fiona Steil-Antoni and I'm here with Astaneh once again. The tournament has just started. We're going to have a 1.5 hour arena of bullet, Alex, and we have some big names out here again.
Yeah. Last year I feel was a big success, and it ended up in a crazy knockout stage and a crazy final where Magnus Carlsen was the eventual winner. And we're hoping that this year will match that level of excitement.
Absolutely. So today, 2 qualifying arenas. The first one has just gotten on the way. I've just pulled up a game at random. Vladimirovic, he's a very strong grandmaster, and Draken. Shall we start with a few of his games?
Yeah, sure. We can start here. Definitely, he's going to be one of the top guys to try and challenge for one of the. There are 7 spots.
7 spots
up for grabs, and so I would imagine Vladimirovic. He's going to be a big favorite to grab one of these in this first game. Looks like he's in complete control. It's game over here because he's just up a full rook, and there is not too much to say about it. He's just hoovering up the pawns now, and a resignation from Genius 007.
I might not have pressed the camera. So let's have a quick look. Usually, you guys know, if you have followed the arenas on Lead Chess, in the beginning, some lower weighted players can rack up a lot of wins. That's why there will be some names here at the top, you might not recognize. But where do you want to go next, Alex? Who would you like to have a look at?
I think the tournament's just heating up. So we can choose. For example, we could go for Vladimirovic, but we could just choose this top game.
Toivak is also.
Toivak. Let's go for it. Let's go ahead and watch Toivak. He is a regular of Lead Chess, very, very strong, super fast, as you can see, 2900 plus rated player. And here, very comfortable position. He's got the center. Black is lashing out with c5, pawn takes and knight takes, and this pawn was hanging, and now all of a sudden the position has become very, very open. The knight is hanging. You have to be careful here. Queen c7 defending. The other knight was hanging for white this time around, so that's why knight d3. I have to say, black is doing pretty well here. The pin is a little bit annoying. Black has a lot of pressure on this bishop, but white is lashing out, attack here, double attack against the queen and the pawn, and he's picking up the pawn. It's a little bit risky because maybe b6 is going to shut this bishop out, but on the other hand, the knight is very, very carefully defending. We see queen b3, we do see that plan in action of b6, and black is going after trying to scoop up the bishop and the knight for a rook. That's usually a favorable exchange, but before he does that, he has to defend this knight. Now, will he pull the trigger? Will he grab this bishop, or will he wait? He does pull the trigger. We see now queen b5. And I think it's really, really difficult to say. The pawn is hanging here, but if you take it after chop, 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 the pawn on b6 falls. So black is instead playing bishop d4, which is a really nice move. I like this a lot. And also striking at f2. I think black is playing a very controlled game and is definitely in command, but 8 seconds against 32. And we said at the start,
he's fast.
Toivak is very, very fast here.
By the way, we are keeping an eye on the chat on Twitch as well as on YouTube. On Twitch especially, I recognize a lot of familiar names, so good to see you all. And yeah, an important reminder, anyone can play. It's going to be tough to get one of those 7 qualifying spots, but it's not too late. Still an hour 25 to go. All you have to do is there's a registration sheet if you find the tournament, but you can enter and you might be able to get some games against some very strong grandmasters. So open to everyone, and we'll see how many players do sign up. I think we started with over 2,200. We'll see how many we get up to in the end.
Yeah, and in terms of that last game, by the way, Toivak did indeed convert with that extra time. Wonderful game by his opponent. He actually outplayed him, but in the end, Toivak outplayed his opponent on the clock.
He's one of the guys, I think, that in these titled arenas that we often see at the top. Like, I think he's a young Finnish IM, and he is one of the guys, whenever I hear Toivak, I think, yeah, he's a quick on the mouse guy and very strong, very tricky.
Yeah, and here, again, the position is fine for Aroniak. He's playing, Toivak this time around has a much tougher opponent in terms of rating alone. But it just seems basically equal. And the question is, now it's Toivak actually is lower on time. The question is, will they even play this out, or will they just agree a draw?
What do you expect?
I think it's going to be a draw. I think they're just going to shuffle the bishops around and it's going to be a draw. And we do indeed see this. I think both players, they have a little bit too much time on the clock. Yeah. You're not going to get too far.
Toivak still in the lead, another big name. Maybe we can see some games of Sergey Zhigalko from Belarus. I think he's probably one of the biggest names. When you think of all the titled arenas, you know, who are the top guys who are always there, Sergey Zhigalko, I think, one of the first name that comes to mind.
Yeah, Zhigalko, I mean, I've played him a lot of times and he is, he's painful to play against, very painful. He's so sharp tactically. And he's like a dog. Once he catches you, I mean, you're just dead.
Yeah.
At the same time, if he is in trouble, he's incredibly tenacious. And we can see here, the viewers cannot see it, but we can see that Zhigalko has a really, really strong score here against his opponent. And he's looking to extend that score. He's definitely in control here. He's up a bunch of pawns.
Alex, by the way, I see there's a question in the chat. Is berserking allowed? As far as I know, yes. And last year we've seen some players use it. Maybe you can very quickly explain for any viewers who might be new, what is berserking and how does it work?
So berserking, basically you end up with you forfeit half of your time on the clock at the start of the game, but you stand to gain more points. So you get an extra point in the event that you berserk successfully. So
we might see Sergey's next game. I don't know if I thought I pressed the TV. There we go. Is he gonna berserk? I expect so, but I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't do it. He's playing very conservatively here. Sometimes though, when people are on a streak, you can get more points even without berserking, and you don't want to jeopardize your streak, right? So if you've won a couple of games, from the next game on, you're on a streak and you stand to gain more points. So sometimes people are a little bit more conservative in this respect. Here, by the way, this is a really tricky situation immediately for black. He's being caught out, and you can see the sharpness of Zhigalko, right? Chop, takes, bishop e3, bishop c5, and instant b4. And the point is, there was no way for black to save the piece.
Is that actually Grischuk? That is Grischuk.
I suspect this is Grischuk, given that it says St. Louis Grischuk, I guess,
that's
right?
An account they created for him when they played some event on Lichess. So I did not know Grischuk was going to be playing, but that's very exciting news.
This adds some spice to the event. So let's take a look. But we see Zhigalko, he's off to a slight lead. He's got a 4-second lead. Grischuk doing some funky maneuvers with his queen, somehow has ended up with the queen on h3. And you might even, if you're Zhigalko, you might even think maybe in the future I can slot that bishop and maybe that queen isn't completely safe. But we're going to see. For now, the knight is hanging here on e4, c4, very classy move. The point is, I want to make sure this pawn stays here so your bishop stays out of the game. Maybe I've got a pass pawn in the future. Knight takes f5. Once this knight moves, maybe I can start pushing, but knight c3 prevents that. Nevertheless, the queen on h3 seems a little bit strange. Very funky, very strange position. C takes b3 at the right moment might happen here with a bunch of pressure on c3, but for now, white is holding. King g7. Quite a bizarre prophylactic move, but it indicates that maybe black isn't quite sure how to press the position forward. And now h4. Now it's black with the queen that's a bit strange. Bishop g5, and maybe at some point some bishop f6 is going to be in the air if you're not careful. The queen enters. The queen has actually been just moving around everywhere, and it's been a really high-level game, this one, but really, really difficult to actually understand what's going on. I'm not sure if the players themselves understand what's going on. In the end, it's sort of ended up, whoa, queen e3. It's safe. There is no way. This pin, walking bravely into the pin, king f7 defending though. Now I can potentially move this bishop and attack the queen. F3? Perhaps there was some d7 tricks. One will never know, but bishop g5, it looks like It looks like it's just about safe because this rook is hanging, bishop takes, and we're going to see king e6 and king takes, and everything is going to swap off into one of those boring grandmaster draws, Fiona.
Oh, they were actually, I thought one of them was going to flag. But that
was an incredible game.
That was an incredible game. I always feel like someone like Zhigalko, maybe he would try and dirty flag someone else, but when you're playing Grischuk, you're like, no, I can't really. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Like,
the Grischuk aura.
Should we go to Grischuk now that I know that Grischuk is playing? Let's see if we can find him. Has he already made? There he is. So how's it? Also, our good friend Matthew has gotten off to a great start. So we will make sure to watch some of Matthew's games later on. But I mean, such a strong field. Is Penguin playing? Someone in the chat, because it's so hard for us here to keep an eye on everything that's going on. Let us know, because Penguin had registered not just with one account, but with two accounts. He had registered with both his Penguin GM and with his C9. He is currently playing the tournament in Las Vegas, so it must be nice and early. But I see Lion is saying that he is playing, so thank you for that, and something pretentious confirming. So he's playing on the C9 account, and we'll make sure to look at some of Penguin's games as well.
So interesting battle going on here. Grischuk is definitely in control. But what we're seeing is a lot of patient play. White is building up some pressure here on the F file, but Black is fixing this bishop, improving the pawn structure, dropping the bishop back, and eventually we will see the C4 pawn break or the A4 pawn break, just to break open that queen side and convert that way. Very smooth game so far. Rook A4, looking to grab this pawn and perhaps invade and grab more pawns. It's but bad pre-move. That is a bad pre-move. Nevertheless, Grischuk's advantage so great that I still think that he will manage to convert this. But at this point, well, it's looking objectively equal, and he does get a draw. That was a really unfortunate turn of events for Grischuk. Basically, after bishop here, there was bishop takes g6, and Grischuk did not expect rook takes pawn on a2. So he had pre-moved and he blundered the rook.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for your raid. Welcome, raiders. So 21, either the raiders, or if you're just tuning in now, this is the first of the two qualifying arenas for the Katara Bullet event 2021. Last year, we had Magnus Carlsen win the turn. Magnus will be playing against this year. He will be playing again this year. There are two wild cards. Magnus is one of them. The other one will remain a surprise. Those knockout finals will be played on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central European Summer Time, so I think 11 a.m. Eastern. And yeah, Magnus will be here. And today we're going to find out who are the 14 players who are going to join Magnus and the surprise wild card. 7 spots up for grabs in this arena, and 7 later tonight. The second arena will be in 6 hours, just under 6 hours.
Yeah, and here in this game, Grischuk once again is he's playing his brand of strong sort of. His games look like over the board games, even though they're bullet. And he's putting on a bit of a clinic here. This bishop is completely out of the game, and now all of a sudden this rook, I don't see bishop g2, and he's going for king g1. When the rook drops to h5, it's going to be bishop f3, and then when the rook goes back, we're going to see king g2, right? So in the end, that's that. Very and this nice grandmaster technique. Opponent simply got wiped. Yeah, he got wiped. He got wiped. Very, very nice game from Grischuk.
Okay, let's see one last. Oh, this is a good one. And Draken against Grischuk, and then we'll mix it up a little bit. We'll try and see, 2-3 games from every play, and then towards the last half hour, we'll focus on who can qualify and see what's going on there at the top.
Yeah. This is a nice way to approach things, I think. And in this particular game, okay, anything can happen. These two players are beasts. This does seem to be a sacrifice because you cannot take, because bishop e6, the rook was on c4. Now we're seeing knight d4. Defending here, sacrificing this pawn on a6 if white wants to, let's say, take everything and in the end pick up the pawn. But White rejects that, instead preferring to leave this sort of unhealthy pawn structure, playing for that activity. White does get that rook into the 7th rank, and b5. The position for black is a little bit shaky, but black is lashing out at the same time, avoiding any back rank problems. And the position is just really, really tricky. We see knight g8, very clever, just trying to activate the rook here against the pawn on e3 and queen e5, bumping up the pressure. Can we take the pawn though? We cannot, because that rook was hanging, so rook b8. Now there's pressure on b2 and there's pressure here. G3. And now we're looking at queen g3, knight e2, preventing this possibility, and knight to f4. Excellent play, it has to be said, from Andrakin. And I think that he is... I think he's in control.
He is firmly in control of that queen, and big win for Mr. Andrakin. It was a really very nice game. Let's leave Grischuk. We've seen enough. We'll come back to Grischuk when he's back to his winning ways. Should we see some of Matthew's games?
Sure.
And then this guy here at the top, I don't know who that is. So most players I feel we know, but if anyone knows who is the minor, let us know. Let us know.
Yeah, so Matthew, he's a relatively young international master, but I'm sure he will be a grandmaster quite soon. I don't think he's had an opportunity to play too much in these COVID times. But he's a player who's just been constantly improving in the last couple of years, I feel, and now he's sporting a near 3,000 bullet rating, and I think he's one of the absolute heavy favorites to qualify. So here in this particular game, we see he's just picked up a pawn here against Romanian force, and he's got a lot of pressure. It's like a Benoni-like pressure, so we might see a b5 move at some point trying to expand, but for now, rerouting, and knight f3 missed by white. It's all over. Knight f3. You cannot afford to miss.
Brutal. This is a big game. Arm, another of our heavyweights in the arena today. Hike, Marty Rosian, another, name who plays. And there we have the mouse slip. The famous mouse slip.
It starts badly, right? These mouse slips are painful, and sometimes psychologically it's difficult to recover from them, because you are like, especially against a strong opponent. And Hike, one of the top talents in Armenian chess.
Alex, you know what happened with Andrew? Andrew has logged off from c9, and is now playing on his Penguin GM account, which is very weird. I wonder what's going. Why would you just throw away 15 minutes of the arena? But Andrew now playing, and thank you for keeping us posted in the chat, playing on his Penguin GM account now.
Oh, bishop takes g6. It's going to be all over here. Rook e7, rook f4. You have to go bishop e8, but it is simply depressing. Instead, he gives up the pawn you can take with the rook, because the bishop is going to be hanging in the end. And this pawn, every pawn. And unfortunately, I really think it was the case. He just did not recover from that fateful mouse slip. King f8. That's like losing 2 pawns or something like this.
I was actually at the beginning. Matthew against Grischuk. We can't escape him.
F4 against Grischuk. F4. This is what Grischuk gets when he joins this Katara bullet qualifier.
He's back on c9, Andrew. Okay, I'll shut up about this now. I guess he will stick to c9. I mean, there's no point. It's only 90 minutes. You cannot qualify on both, Andrew. You're going to have to stick to one.
And it has to be said, Matthew has a pretty solid position here, but at the same time, Grischuk also very nicely centralized pieces. We're seeing knight a5, perhaps looking for a c4 push. Instead of a funky rerouting, I'm not quite sure what's going on. The knight, that's a classy rerouting. From here to here to here to here. Incredible stuff from Grischuk. And he is putting the squeeze on the queen side here. We've got c4. And now we see these pawns are broken, and rook takes c4 is on the cards. Can you not pick up this pawn? Grischuk does not see a problem with picking up this pawn. And I think Matthew now is in trouble. Bishop has to go back to f3, rook c4, but that's just been a clean pawn. And maybe you can even take a second one. But no, I think if you did that, you might have been, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what was wrong, but bishop f5. Forcing a winning of an exchange. And Matthew, he's still playing on, but 27 seconds for Grischuk against 23. I think the game will be over quite soon. King h8, and it's going to be a liquidation here on f2 and a clean exchange. Rook d2, you're going to pick up the pawn on h2. It's an exchange in 2 pawns. It's just lights out. So Matthew resigns.
I have to say, and maybe we can we'll leave Matthew as well. I've been quite impressed by by Grischuk's speed. Maybe we can look at some of the games of our leader, especially this one, because he's playing against this guy who I don't think is Magnus Carlsen. It is Magnus spelled backwards, but if we go to his profile, it says, "I'm not Magnus, I just admire him." So one of the players that we're not sure who he is, nor the opponent, the minor.
But he's pretty damn good. 3,055 in rating. Let's see this game in particular. Well, the minor seems to be doing quite well here. We've got a situation of 6 pawns against 6, but black has a nice center. These are called hanging pawns. On the one hand, they're a little bit more shaky because they don't have other pawns to defend them. But on the other, they let you control a lot of the center and they can act as support for centralized pieces, especially knights, as we can see here. So black is doing well. And you might say, well, this pawn is kind of weak, but you might be able to push this pawn forward and use it as a way to target the white queenside pawn structure. And now white doing something a little bit strange, but I like it very much. B4 was potentially offering a pawn, but the idea was to grab this square on D4. And now we've got a massive simplification. Knight jumps back to E4. The dust has more or less settled or close to settling. For now, what? Well, I simply don't understand what happened there. Material is 1 pawn to the good, and all of a sudden black resigns.
Where our what do you call it? When you're into where are conspiracy? Where are conspiracists in the chat? I mean, something looking very off here.
Yeah.
I mean, black is even a pawn up, no?
This account has been closed, the minor.
The game was aborted. Okay, account just got closed.
Account is banned, so we
don't need to worry about.
Have some suspicions that not all was
rosy.
Rosy, exactly.
Okay, so let's look at so the fake Magnus Carlsen, we'll call him, the Magnus fan, taking on Andrakin.
Right, yeah. So Andrakin with the white pieces, he goes king h1. He's looking for g3. So black slots the queen away, back to e7. And now knight jumps to h5 and f4. He's looking for a King's Indian defense type of attack. And here knight g3 is not at all unusual. If you capture, you might get checkmated. So instead, white ignores that knight. He's not interested. He's looking to win over here where he's picked up a pawn. Black is still having to launch everything at white. But to be honest, I'm not sure that I believe the attack. I'm not sure why black had to give up, or why white rather had to give up that pawn. Suddenly the attack is gaining huge strength. Bishop c3. Bishop c3, it's going to be game over. Bishop c3, it's going to be game over. King f3, queen h5, and it's over. Your queen is gone. And in the end, the attack crashed through.
Very nice game.
I did not have faith in it, but somehow...
I was getting sidetracked because I know Pete in the chat loves to troll us, so I was just fact checking that before reading it out. But it is true. Andrew is streaming now. He is live. So Penguin Jam is live on his channel, and his stream title is Katara Bullet, but my roommates are asleep at Vegas. Also, I'm drunk. I mean, what is the time in Vegas? It's like 6 a.m., I think. So it will be very interesting to see how Andrew does today. I don't know if he will be able to. I guess he will not be able to play the second arena because it will probably clash with his Vegas game. So one shot, it's probably all he's going to get, Andrew, and we'll have to see how it goes for him. So
here we've got Grischuk against this Magnus Carlsen 77. And... Grischuk has this strong bishop here, but it's you can't get you wish you could get your queen in as well to coordinate, but you can't quite do it. So I'm not sure how powerful this bishop will end up being, and in fact he just swaps it off at this moment.
bit. And we have a new leader well, it was BMW Hero a second ago. Now it's Inventing Invention. I think Inventing Invention is one of the players last year who made it through to the qualifiers. So let's have a quick look at one of his games. And he's playing against another bullet monster, Man United Pro, aka Minle,
who also went very far in the first edition last year. So yeah, here, these kind of positions, by the way, I find them so difficult to play when you're playing bullet from the black side. When white has this, horse just planted on e5, is attacking you, and now we see actually the knight does move. But the point is, if you take, you're going to be facing a check, and when you move, you're going to face another check, and when you move here, that rook is going to fall. But what to do? Black accepts the challenge anyway, gives up this rook. Now b takes e3. At least the position has gone very spicy, but that's a second rook. Queen e2 is a beautiful coordinating move, and white has actually done something very funky with the queen, right? From here, picked up 2 rooks and back at d2 in the space of about 4 moves. And now the consequence of this, whoa! The consequence was actually up.
Where did that queen go?
The queen. Well, the black knight went to e4, and the queen stayed on d2, and that's for old school chess fans, you will know Mr. Chess Network and what he says about tricky knights.
I know.
And we see this is a classic example that knight on e4 super strong, and we can see really clever stuff from Inventing Invention. Forced resignation here, the check. And the rook is going to drop on the next move. Those knights were very, very strong. In spite of being 2 exchanges down, there was still a lot to play for. And one moment, one lapse in focus, and Matti pros all of his hard work for nothing.
Menu, Knighted Pro.
I like Matti Pro, for me...
Dropstone, David Paravian, another player who qualified last year. We haven't seen any of his games today. Inventing Invention was Argun...
Erigaisi, I think.
Arjun Erigaisi, I think so, against David Paravian, the winner of last year's Gibraltar Congress.
Yeah, and we're seeing some kind of theoretical duel here, but it looks to me in the Catalan, but it looks to me like black has emerged pretty well out of it. Very active pieces. We do see this pawn dropping, but bishop b7 back. And now if you move the rook, you might have some queen g4 ideas, although then I guess you will have f3. So instead he chops here, and now queen g4 check, king does slot back to h1, putting a bunch of pressure on this pawn, and queen e4 now. We might see a draw, queen g6, king here, and queen back. The point is you cannot go f3 in a lot of situations because this pawn would fall. Instead, he goes a totally different direction. I'm a little bit surprised.
Rook b6, rook g3,
yes.
6.
And this is extremely scary if you're white. On the other hand, white is... no, he's not even up a pawn, so this is very, very scary indeed. But rooks are off the board. Yeah. That's a big achievement for Erigaisi, for white. And now king to g2, and the position is looking a lot more solid. Maybe you're going to throw in h3 to prevent g4 ideas. But he goes queen d2. He was attacking this pawn. He's going after the queenside pawns. But the king is very, very, very vulnerable here to an attack. You might even do queen f2. I'm a little bit surprised. I would be very surprised if they go for a draw. Instead, he's going to try and chase the somewhat vulnerable king.
So much easier to play with black here, with the white queen being so offside. We need to get that queen back into the game.
Yeah, for sure. And especially, I mean, this pawn is going to fall, and suddenly this pawn on I mean, the king is looking very, very unsafe, and you're out of checks, and it's going to be game over, I think. We're just going to see a queen on the very next move, and I don't see any kind
queen
of...
h5.
Yeah.
I was just going to swap queens, you know me. But black found a forced checkmate, which arguably is a little bit stronger than forcing the queens off.
Yeah, really a very, very impressive game from Parabian there. And Inventing Invention does not have an easier opponent in this round.
No, it's going to be, I think it's going to be very, very close at the top. There's one question in the chat for us to increase the P sound. I think we can try and do that from our end. Let us know, maybe the others. How is it? Maybe let's increase it a tiny bit and see if it helps.
Yeah, sure. Where do we go?
There,
here.
A sound. Let's try and pull it up a little bit.
Let me know, guys, or let us know, guys, if this sounds a little bit better.
Another messy game.
Yeah, well, in this one in particular here, we've got Grischuk. He's just playing classical openings. He played a King's Indian, and now we're at a middle game where Grischuk has two pieces for rook, so that would usually be quite good. But on the other hand, black does have a pawn for it, and the problem is white's pawns, they're so shaky, and the rooks are pretty can put a lot of pressure, so it's a little bit tricky. White for now is coordinating. Look at this beautiful central coordination. Rook a5, looking to go after this pawn, no way to defend it. So Grischuk gives up the pawn and now goes knight to b4. That's a move that surprises me. I'm not really sure what the point is of this knight on b4. And suddenly black has picked up another pawn. And I think really Grischuk has lost control of this position. Knight e6, we're seeing perhaps that knight will shift over to either f4 or d4. We see b5. Now we've got black has this 3 against 1 on the queen side. So he might be looking to make something of that. The bishop was attacking the rook, so he moves it. We're seeing knight b3 and bishop to c4. Looks like it's just a straight up blunder. Grischuk not having his best game. He dropped 2 pawns, then he dropped the bishop, and that was it. Forced to resign.
Tough game for Grischuk. Let's have a quick look at the standings. We're almost halfway, for 53 minutes to go. Who haven't we seen? We haven't seen anything. Let's look at Josef. I became a big fan, actually, I have to say, last year of Josef Taher from Indonesia. He was one of, I think, the lowest rated players to qualify for the finals. And it was great. It's great to have him back. And I'd love to see a couple of his games.
Yeah, super strong player, and looking like he's going to pick up a win here against Shrek David, unless Shrek can pull off a miracle in the time scramble, but he does not do it. It is game over. Josef, he's 2,800, but I think he's been as high as 3,000 plus. I think this is sort of on the lower end of his rating range, and he's up against the Grandmaster.
Do we know who BMW Hero is? No,
I certainly don't. Perhaps the chat.
Let us know in the chat if you know.
Oh, dirty stuff. Dirty stuff.
Can we go back and see how this happened?
Yeah, I have no idea what happened. Oh, no, not dirty. See, just simply rook takes g7. Missed. There's nothing dirty about it. Missed. And now you're down material. Black is going king f7, trying to win that bishop. And he was successful. And now we're just going to move to the current position. This is the one. White's king is still... or black's king rather is still under fire. A lot of pieces swarming around the king, but the knights and the queen are just about holding things off. And actually material is, at least piecewise, is level. And black going c4, looking to bring this queen over into the attack. And knight takes f2.
Sneaky.
Picking up the queen. White goes knight f6, looking for that checkmate. But that's why king g7 escaping it. Now you have to defend the rook. Now black is even in time to move the knight and save it. And maybe queen c1. Looking to save that knight, but at the same time, attacking here on d2, attacking on e3. White himself, for his part, he's looking to use the rook, the knight, and the bishop to try and form some kind of mating net against the king. And I think rook takes h7, and you have to be very careful. Where do you move the king? Now, the rook, this is just an absolutely insane game, but how do you stop this pawn? This is the question, but where do you move your king? Where do you move your king? Because there are so many squares. If you go here, rook d7, check. Maybe it's on the cards, but then black would take, bishop takes, and then queen, and then it's queen against bishop, knight, and 5 pawns. But I think, white figured that this is more or less the best that they could do. Probably that's fair.
One
that this
person
is more or less
said
the
that if
best.
Sergey Zhigalko, I did not know Sergey Zhigalko played online. I don't know if it's true, but thank you for that, and we'll see. We'll find out. If he qualifies, we'll know who all the players are, because for the finals, everyone will be on camera. So if they finish in the top 7, we'll know who they are for sure. And here, that was a big pawn that dropped, and also the time with 2 seconds.
Yeah. Queen takes, and c2. Beautiful,
right.
Beautiful stuff here. And well, but the question is that the clock. White timed out. Black was victorious. Okay, so the clock was against them as well, right? Okay. So the question was not the clock. Crazy game, very impressive stuff, and black definitely a deserved winner. But that was the game that started with the rook
Alex,
h7. First berserk, and it's a double berserk. And we're seeing here knight takes d7. You can get away d4. You can get away with taking this pawn. Normally, sometimes you can't because you get a discover check.
For black.
But I think this some of this stuff is huge blunder. What he meant to play was f4. I think he meant to play f4. Instead, you play f3. You're immediately in trouble because you lose your queen.
It's a nice definition of trouble. Okay, let's move on from Joseph. I think we've seen a few nice games by the Indonesian. Mr. Munir. We haven't seen any of Munir, and Munir also last year qualified. Thomas Bertsen, good friend of us, very tricky young bullet player from the Netherlands. One of those who surprisingly made the qualifiers last year. Let's see, can he pull it off last year? He took the final spot, I think, just off Giri. He was in a tussle, Bertsen against Giri. Who was going to take
the battle of the
that
Dutch
final spot? And Bertsen took it. This time, Anish is busy in Paris. So let's see.
It's got a simple win here on Black's hands. It will basically end up king and rook against king. And an anonymous king trusts that Munir is going to be able to convert it. One of the faster players on the website. And now Munir starting off with e4 against international master Romanian Force. We see he
often plays these very tricky lines, gambits, offbeat lines, and it often serves him well.
Yeah, I mean, once you get some experience with these in bullet, I mean, it's really very smart choice. Now the question is, where are you going to put this bishop? You have to drop it back, so he goes for bishop d5, offering the bishop, but that will open up a bunch of lines if you go for that. C takes d4, bishop takes, and completing development. White continues to focus on development. Black, in the meantime, is doing some funky stuff here, advancing the pawn on the h-file. I'm not sure that I like this because I think Black needs to solve their other problems. But so far, he's gotten away with it. I'm not sure, though, what he has achieved by getting this pawn to h3, bishop to b3. I like the white position. Maybe at some point, we're going to see f4. And that's when we see it now. Knight c4, looking probably for e5. Breaking open the position is what you want to do. But huge mistake to have dropped this pawn and dropping it with check. And suddenly the pawn on h3 actually means that this will be checkmate. So you have to be very careful.
The position turned around so quickly, and now Munir in huge trouble here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe some rook b4, looking to press the knight on c4. And if the knight moves, the pawn on b2 falls. And with it, suddenly Black has not one, but two passed pawns. Black is pushing the first one. I'm not sure why you cannot take it. Goes instead for a series of checks, and now a fair exchange there for white that white's going to be very happy about.
It's always tricky, though. And this is not so clear any longer. I'm sure Munir is going to keep all the pieces on the board and try. And there goes one pawn.
Yeah, the material is now level, so I think objectively white, or I think Black is.
But time. This is all going to be down to the time.
I think Munir will do it.
I can,
that's the thing. I've played Munir a bunch of times. I know how.
He's a dirty player, and I mean that in the best way possible. But he is fast. Yeah. Esquire, I just looked up before we went live who it was. I've already forgotten. Do you remember? I think it says in the profile. Yeah. Let me have a very quick look. I know it is Kovalev. Vladislav Kovalev from Belarus, another top grandmasters. The highest base, yes, absolutely. Magnus will be playing in the finals again. There will be two wild cards. One of them is Magnus Carlsen, and the other is undecided as of yet. So that will be a surprise. The finals will take place on Wednesday afternoon.
Rook takes c6. Some nice tactics there from Munir. From Esquire. But it's a weird position because on the one hand, you have two pieces for a rook. Usually that's great, but your pieces aren't out of the... they're just not, they're not playing.
It's not easy to get them out.
They're not playing. And in the meantime, this pawn is simply tearing you to shreds because there's no way to stop it. You can try knight c2, but I mean, this is not going to cut it. And he even takes the time, right? The leisurely approach. But be careful.
There was a fork.
Be careful, though.
Yeah, that's
Be careful. Yeah, there was a fork before, but you had your rook backing it. And now, this is beautiful play. This is beautiful play from white. Oh, my goodness. My goodness.
How did he do that,
we should take a look after if we have a chance And now it's going to be game over. He's trying to catch out Kovalev, but he's not going to do it. He's got a lot of time on the clock. But Munir needed to stop and think about what was a very, very tricky position. To lose that position is going to hurt. I'd love to take a look at this game if it's possible.
Then you have to unfollow Munir.
But too late. Too late. We are here.
Shall we move on? Okay, last Munir game, and then we'll move on. We're now halfway down the arena. Munir is still in, as you can see. You can always see the positions the players have next to below their ratings. That's the current position in the tournament. So as of now, Munir is still in.
Yeah, and here in this position here, we see white is up a pawn, but it's not too significant because, in fact, white is up 2 pawns. But for now, black's activity is greater. So white has to figure out, how am I going to develop the pieces? If white can do it though, bishop e3, maybe bishop to d4, and there's a little trick. If bishop takes queen g3, that was missed by BMW Hero. Little trick by Munir, and it's going to work out.
Very nice. Very nice
very
little
quick
trick,
win.
Actually.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, it goes to show and Josef, our new tournament leader, 5-point lead at the top ahead of Zhigalko, Munir, Man United Pro, aka Minley. And Amin Tabatabai, we haven't seen any of his games. So shall we see some of Amin's games?
Yeah.
So Amin here with the white pieces playing against Abdi Salimov. I don't know who that is, but this was a tough game for Amin. Let's see this one from the start against Marty Rosian.
Yeah, and and this is a common bullet trick. You play e5 and then h5, and you hope. I mean, well, these guys are playing so lightning fast, and now you're in trouble, because if you go bishop f5, there's knight g5. He goes knight g5 anyway, but after king d7, I'm not sure what to follow up. Be careful, because you are going to lose this knight. He's found a resource attacking this knight, so black instead defends it. And now if bishop e6, you've got knight c5. So you have to be very, very careful. Knight takes f6, a crunching move, and it's going to be resignation.
My mind is blown every time when I see these guys play bullet. Like, all the tactics and the speed at which they process everything, for me, it's just mind-blowing, really. I think playing bullet at such a high level, it's an art form.
Yeah, I mean, it's and we are only at the qualifier stage, right? I mean, these guys, what we saw last year at the knockout was incredible. Was insane. Yeah. So queen takes e5, bishop f8. The queen is under fire, so you have to go to e3. Queen h7, rook b8, at rook b1, targeting the knight on b8, but black counters with his own attack here against the queen, and f4 necessary, bishop d7 in order to defend the knight. Are we going to see something like queen a7? He goes for a sacrifice here, looking to pick up this pawn. I'm not sure that I completely believe in this sacrifice. Black slotting the bishop back to f8. Are we going to see some move like queen g7, maybe trying to exchange queens? Instead, rook d8, and now queen e7, queen c5 is a possibility, exchanging the queens, but black not interested in this. H takes g, h takes g. And the position is very, very messy, very tricky, hard to say who is actually better here. Queen e3 check, king has to move, and you can take this knight, but on the other hand, the bishop will fall. Bishop takes c6, targeting the bishop. Do not care about this knight because of this guy. And if you take me first and then you take here, the rook would be hanging. So instead we see just a complete mess. Everything has been exchanged, but I think at the very least there should be a draw here for white, but I believe there might be even more. Queen check, king here, queen d8 check. Perhaps it's a draw. I think you have to go back. Oh, that was beautiful, actually. I think that was simply forced. Yeah. That was simply forced checkmate. That was absolutely beautiful maneuvering there from the queen, and gets the win. Now we're playing David Howell's Caro Can line that he taught us. David Howell, a strong grandmaster who is one of the leading experts on this line. And it's complete madness here. The pawn on g5 looks to be falling. And pawn on g5 that's a huge pawn. And now the knight on f4 is going to want to want to come over here to g6 and maybe coordinate with the bishop, it's going to be very unpleasant. Black is taking, but you have to feel you do not have time to take. And bishop c4, I do not care about this because the checkmate is on the cards. g5 in order to create a square for the knight, but you are not worried if you're, I don't know why you're not worried about losing this piece. I think that was a big piece to lose, and that's a second piece. You are giving up the rook, but Black is now happy. Black has managed to get 2 pieces for the rook and escape the attack. Still, anybody's game here. Once again, we have this situation of 2 pieces, but the rooks are very tricky. The rooks are super, super tricky, and there aren't so many pawns left, so it's hard to say that white is worse here. We're looking for rook b8 if we're white. So rook g8, stopping it. Maybe we're going to see rook b7 with the threat of mate here, and rook g7 exchanging. And again, these A pawns are so tricky to stop, but with the bishop, you are safe.
We can always just give up one of the pieces and we can never lose. So in theory, Black shouldn't lose this game, but bullet, anything, of course. I
think Black is going to be pressing for the win here, for sure. And the question is, now I think not so much, but bishop a7. Bishop a7 was a possibility.
I think Black is pressing, and
Black has actually managed to paralyze white, and now knight d2, and
that's over. Checkmate.
Impressive stuff.
I mean, it was really impressive how Black just ran his king up the board. So let's see, who have we not? We haven't seen any of Harsha.
We haven't looked at Ray Robson either, who's a very strong player.
Let's go to Ray Robson. He has snuck up on me. I didn't see him up there. Apologies, Ray. Let's look at some of Ray's games.
Ray, one of the most powerful tacticians in chess, full stop. And that makes him a very, very strong bullet player. Of course, very strong in his own right. He's a near 2700 grandmaster from the US. And here, Black is grabbing this pawn. Joseph is grabbing it, but after rook takes, queen takes, g3, there was some risk there, but I guess Black saw some resources using the enemy's king. In the end, we have this simple middle game, and after rook f6, a draw offer made and draw offer instantly accepted. They're even fast. They're so fast even accepting the draw offers.
And now we see Meneer against Ray Robson. So not exciting.
And this is the fantasy variation of the exchange Caro-Kann, and Meneer always plays this, and I played many times against him, and he kept winning this position. So I'm gonna hope to see how does Ray approach it.
Black react?
Exactly, and hopefully Ray will have a little bit more success, and I'll be able to steal his tricks. So h4, white is having to do something about this bishop. He takes first and then he picks up a pawn. I really like white's position. It looks to me like it's just a clean pawn.
Ray hasn't shown us the way just yet.
No, not at all. Now the knight is under fire, so you have to go for that. Meneer offering a queen exchange. Queen exchange happened. Now the pawn on g5 is in trouble, so you go knight takes e4 to try and grab that pawn. And very clever attempt there from Ray, but it's not clever enough because the rook gets taken defending their rook. So in the end, that would have been a piece, and Meneer does to Ray what he's done to me many a time. In this line.
Even, we'll come back to Ray in just a second. Is Meneer he's taken the tournament lead?
Meneer has taken the lead.
I haven't seen Meneer play too much, I have to say, since last year's Katara. I know he has been playing, but he seems to have taken, another step or two, which is very, very impressive.
This time around, it's Invention who drops a piece there. There was a clever little trick. Queen takes e5, and if you take here, bishop takes queen. So now Black is up a piece. White is trying to fight on. Will Ray Robson convert it? What do you think?
Yes.
He will convert.
He has 40. If he had like 5 seconds on the clock, I wouldn't be sure, but 40. That's a bit too much time.
It is. It's looking good as well. It's not just an extra piece, but it's an extra bishop pair. And here, bishop d3, just chasing the knight, looking to grab this pawn once the knight stops defending it, and bishop c5. And Invention has seen enough.
Oh, Mr. Rasmus Wanne, one of the top German GMs. We haven't seen much of him either. So let's stick around for this game, and then we'll move on. Only 35 minutes remaining, so very soon we're gonna just focus mostly not just on who's leading the tournament, because we will see more of them in the knockout, but we'll focus more around those places 6 to 10 to see what's gonna happen in the race, the all-important race to qualify.
Yeah, and in this game, it's we saw another Caro Can, and a tricky middle game. We can see actually Black has a lot of pieces over on the King side, so we're probably expecting some kind of an attack from Black, and that's what we're seeing here. Knight H4 looking to maybe exchange off the key defensive piece, but White drove the knight to E5, and now Black actually takes a change of direction and just goes hunting after this pawn. And you have to say, Rasmus's position here with the black piece is looking absolutely great. We're seeing this knight is a monster targeting this weakness on E3. Rook on F8, everything is coordinating. Are we going to see E5 at some point? We see instead some tactics here, but I'm not so convinced about these tactics because White has been able to nab a couple of pawns. Suddenly, the attack is, but Rook F1 and check, and takes. And
those tactics.
Oof, that was a miss there. Basically, that was a very, very nice tactical sequence, textbook tactical sequence.
By the way, question from Angela in the chat. Is the tournament open to everyone? Yes, it is. You can still, there's a form you have to fill out. It's on the tournament page right there in the top left corner. And now there's only half an hour remaining. But good news for all of you who thought this was fun and who would like to try your hand at playing yourselves. There is a second qualifying arena taking place at... It's now 4 o'clock, so in 5 hours. 5 hours from now, there is a second 90-minute qualifying arena. Maybe I see something pretentious Nightbot has put one of the links. Maybe we can also link to Knight's arena. I'm not sure which one this was, and you can all take part.
And in this game here, we're seeing Ray Robson with the black pieces. But it seems to me, Eric Icey, Inventing Invention, he is in control in this particular game. Looks to have some pressure here against E6. The bishop, the knight, somehow they just it feels a little bit off. But there's been an exchange. There's been an exchange.
And the knight was just trapped, actually.
The knight just got trapped. Yeah, the second I suggested that the white position was better. We see black winning a piece.
But you have to be a little bit careful that H pawn. You don't, because the G pawn is going to drop. Oh, it isn't.
The thing is, the rook was here, and the king, if it had taken it, and this was the little trick that Eric Icey did not see. But you're right. I mean, this pawn could cause some problems here with King H5. You have to say though, with the extra piece, Black has enough pawns on the queen side, and G4 is a nice move just to force off that exchange of this pawn. And now, with 2 pawns left, I think Black is going to do it. Definitely enough time on the clock. If you go rook over, the king is going to move, and these pawns are going to start to advance. And there's just no stopping this pawn on E2, bishop E3, and it's a full queen. So the only question is
time, but it should be enough time. 5 seconds, and everything drops. Is he going to do like I do, just take everything? No, he isn't. He's looking for that mate, and he finds it.
He found the checkmate.
Okay, let's go back to the tournament standings. So what is going on? Meneer has a 9-point lead at the top there, ahead of Josef. So 2 international masters leading the tournament. Sergey Zhigalko in 3rd, Rasmus Rane, Ray Robson, Amin Tabatabai, and Marty Rosian. For now, those are the top 7. But these guys, they are just behind. Let's see if there is someone there at the top we haven't seen much of.
Mr. Grischuk, he is currently not qualifying.
No. Shall we see if Grischuk can mount a bit of a comeback?
You sure?
He will need to win. Quite
a lot of games in succession.
Yeah, and what is this? G3 H5. Alex.
Yeah, it's this is the new Lila era where everybody is pushing the H pawn. And he needs a win. But one of the things that you have to wonder about Grischuk's play style is maybe it's a little too classical, right? We're seeing the tournament leader, Meneer. He's gambiting pawns. He's playing tricky lines. Whereas Grischuk, he's playing more like blitz and rapid repertoire, more classical. And maybe, you know, that's just not the best strategy if you want to rack up a bunch of points, because we do see Grischuk has built up a rating close to 3,000. So his tournament performance is good, but maybe he's just not getting in enough games. Bishop takes G7, though, seems to be on the cards here, and it's going to be a lot of material. I guess you have to do something like Bishop to G6 and offer this exchange. Black declines it. But now there are Bishop takes E4 ideas.
This looks scary.
If Queen takes D7, King takes D7, then you've got, you have to worry about this Bishop on G2. So Black, I think, has a very, very nice position. On the other hand, be very careful with this pawn at some point. Very, very soon, that pawn now just takes an H6. Just start to run the pawn up the board. F6 absolutely necessary. And now Black has managed to chase away the rook and is going to be able to collect the pawn. We're going to see maybe rook takes a4, but Black suddenly is the one absolutely fine.
Grischuk with a 5-second lead, though, which at this stage of the game, that's quite a big lead. I have been quite impressed with Grischuk's speed overall. I wonder if he's, been training on some secret accounts.
Do you think he's going to do it in this one?
No, a second ago.
Be very careful. He does manage to grab that pawn to avoid this, but he doesn't avoid it with the C pawn, and he does get tricked. The knight is much tougher to play against than to play against the bishop. Yeah. It creates so many of these mating nets and tricks and forks, and unfortunately, that could be tough to recover for Grischuk.
I suggest, Alex, that we now we forget about the Meuniers of this world. Meunier and Joseph have such a big score. Of course, in half an hour, things can still go wrong. Let's look at Kovalev maybe for a short while, and let us know in the chat if you agree. But I think the most exciting thing for the remaining 28 minutes, it will not be, who wins at the top, because these guys are all just looking. I think the prize money is the same. It will be just the prize fund. I don't think there's prize money for this qualifier, but the prize fund for the knockout, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what we want to know is who's going to qualify, who are going to be the 7 players, and Kovalev, one of them, looking to qualify.
Yeah, and in this particular game here, Kovalev, I don't think his position is too good. But he's fighting, and he's managed to grab this pawn here on c4, and suddenly he's threatening checkmate. Yeah. Knight f3.
Knight f3, rook h2
was checkmate, and that was missed by both players. Now it's no longer possible because the knight from g5 covers that square, and that was a little bit of a miss. Here, rook takes.
It's a big miss, especially because you get more time. He's gonna lose. First of all, he's not sure he's gonna win the game, and if he does, he loses 20 seconds off the tournament clock.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. And in the end,
but he finds another mate.
He does get another mate there on the second time of trying. And now he has the white pieces against Amin Tabatabai and Bishop e6. We're seeing another Caro-Kann, very, very popular in this tournament. Knight was attacking the queen, so queen goes to h4, and we see aggressive play here from Kovalev. The knight is on g5, the queen is on h4, but where's the king? The king is staying on e8 for now, and now black castles once the knights are off the board. Rook d1, fighting for the d file. More pieces get exchanged, and it just looks like a very solid kind of one of those boring-ish Caro-Kann positions. Black did manage to grab a pawn. On the other hand, if you move your bishop, this pawn drops. Black countering with an attack on this bishop. And this is actually quite nice for Black, because as white recovers the pawn gets taken on b2. Now Black is up a clean pawn. And so basically the skirmish worked out very, very well for Black. And the pawn on e5 is also kind of dangerous. So king over and king to f5 are kind of sort of precariously placed. So at some point, you might chase after it. The pawn on g3 now available. And if rook takes c6, perhaps king f5. Rook c7 is white's idea, but Black can actually take both pawns. Instead, he goes back, figuring this pawn is a little bit too important, and he's looking to use this majority. Will it be enough? I think, objectively speaking, it might be a draw, I think. Especially this h5 move is a very, very nice touch, because once you attract the king over to capturing the pawn on f7 falls, and now you've got these 2 pawns, but it shouldn't be enough to win.
Yeah, and Kovalev, I think he's really going to try to. Well, he managed to hold on to both pawns.
Yeah, so he has managed.
I'm not sure if this is. And yeah, this is a huge game, as you can see. Kovalev currently in 8th position. I mean, in 5th. None of them are safe. So a big game for both of them. I think Kovalev here, he's looking for that mostly we don't see him trying to make too much progress. Maybe there is no progress to be made. But he gets the lucky break he was looking for. The white dropped the rook, and that is checkmate on the board. Wow.
Yeah, the thing about it is that if you were to side, this was a theoretical draw, but if you were to side...
Sorry, Alex, we haven't seen Penguin at all. Where is Penguin?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Where was Mr. Penguin? I'm so confused. I mean, I refuse to be. I know he said in his stream title that he, might have had a few drinks. He's here in 85th place, but he hasn't played that many. Andrew's having a bad tournament. Yeah, I see that. We'll leave Andrew to it. We will leave Andrew to it. Shall we see maybe Spicy Caterpillar? Ray Robson is on fire, and he's going to be looking to keep that streak going. As we see, has just beaten Andraken. So the next game, a big game. I think when you're in this position where you're just below the qualifying spots and you're on fire, you want to keep that stream.
Do you think he's going to qualify?
Ray? I think yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's a very, very strong player. You can see, I mean, he's almost at 3,000. And I think he has the kind of style that he can rack up a bunch of points fast towards the end. So let's see if he can do it. He needs to bring his A game here in this game. But I think
there's a lot more than 7 players. Where if you ask me, do you think he's gonna qualify? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably like 15 of them. Do you think he's gonna? Yeah, I think he'll do it. Yeah, he's very strong.
One of them might be inventing invention. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what exactly is his ranking. He's at number 17 though. I'm surprised actually that he's as low. Of course, it's still an amazing thing, but for someone of his strength, I was expecting that he'd be maybe top 10. And here he's managed to hold off Robson's attack, and he is up in exchange. But on the other hand, White has a couple of pawns for that exchange, and that knight is looking to go to f6. And I think that's going to be a very, very strong square. Instead, shifts it over to d6, where it shuts out this bishop. Black is going knight c5, targeting the bishop, but the bishop moves over to c4, where it was attacking the queen. b3, just making sure that there's no back rank tricks. And rook g5, queen h6. One of the things that's impressive about these players is when their pieces are on pre, less experienced, less strong players, they're always reacting. Yeah. Oh, my piece is attacked. These guys, they're constantly
creating new threats.
Exactly. Constantly creating new threats. And there falls the queen. And in comes the knight maneuvering over, queen to f7, looking to push this pawn. And at this point, all that invention has is an attempt to hustle Ray Robson on the clock. The bad news is Ray Robson is one of the fastest tacticians on the planet. Yeah. So that's an unsuccessful attempt there, and he does resign.
So Ray now up to 5th, and remember, he has still got that streak going for him. So let's see one more Ray game, and then we'll move on. 21 minutes to go. So we're really getting to the money time. Every game now is so important for these players, between position 5 and 10. Maybe even just a bit like 11, 12 might still have some hopes, but we'll have a look at the standings after this.
Yeah, and here, I mean, the game seems pretty okay for Mr. Neslera, who has managed to grab this pawn on c4. The question is, can you take this pawn? It seems too poisonous, so Black avoids it. Wait a second, there's bishop on c4. Bishop on c4 hanging, dropped it, and that is a big gift that Ray Robson is going to be very happy about. Now just saving the pieces here, e5 and f4, shutting out this bishop. It should be a fairly trivial task to convert this. Knight f6, even some attacking possibilities available. Rook takes, do not take the pawn because bishop c5, your king was here, your queen was on d4. Ray is not going to fall for that. Queen d3, just looking to stabilize the position. Rook d1, we might see king h1, just, you know, stepping the king onto a light square so that this bishop cannot hurt it. We might see that at some point, but all of the white pieces, they're just very, very beautifully coordinated, looking to improve the knight placement, putting a bunch of pressure on this pawn. D takes, now you can even take this pawn. He steps the king out of this diagonal first, now grabs the pawn on d4, and I think he's going to be looking to try and fire up some kind of mating attack here. Rook d6, you cannot take because queen g8 would be mate. I'm not quite sure what the follow-up is. If black, for example, if it were me, I would probably just take this and try to, you know, get some kind of perpetual checks. Oh, wow. Beautiful, beautiful sequence. That was the follow-up.
Wow.
A nice queen sacrifice, spots it, and you can see the puzzle rush kind of stuff, right? He's very, very, very good at this, like very, very fast puzzle solving.
Zhigalko, so this is the situation. I don't know who Mitraba is from India. Maybe let's see a couple of oh, he's a huge game here against Zhigalko, number 10 against number 8. Mitraba is on a streak, so let's see.
We did not see Zhigalko in the qualifiers last year.
No,
in the knockout rather last year.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to see Zhigalko. I think he's one of the
I know, I see the comments in the chat, but with Ray, I think I know you guys are joking, but I think he has a few puzzle rush records actually of fastest.
Yeah, I think let us
know if he also holds the puzzle storm records. I don't know, but he was very famous. But anyway, yeah, Penguin, breaking news. I think Penguin is not going to qualify. It's a little too late, but hopefully he's having a good time in Vegas, and we wish him the best of luck there. I hope we see him tonight in the other arena, but I think that might clash with his game. Okay, so let's see this one.
Well, it seems like Zhigalko is in control. He's got 2 extra pawns here. And they're just clean. They're clean extra pawns. He's looking for knight e2, and he gets it. The rook drops, and now just rotating the knight back, picks up this knight. Zhigalko just hoovered up. He cleaned up. He took everything. He took everything. And I'll tell you something. I've played Zhigalko a bunch of times. I can tell you he is a fan of taking everything. He is of your school of chess. If you give him anything, he'll just take it. And he just keeps taking.
Wizard 98, who is that again? Oh, Naranayan. Okay, let's see. He's in number 6. We haven't seen any of his games. So let's see maybe at least one after this one.
Yeah, one of the...
Oh, Tang withdrew in Vegas. Oh, wow. I had no idea. So in that case, we will probably see him play the second arena. Why did he withdraw? Interesting. So yeah, probably in that case, we'll see him later on. What is this? That's a lot of pawns for black.
Yeah, opposite color bishops, but that's not going to save you in that spot. Also, the clock was simply too bad. And here we're seeing Almudaka.
That is Mohammed, one of our organizers. Big shout out. I wanted to see one of his games, then I didn't get around. So I'm very happy. Last year he didn't play. He was busy organizing. He's one of the people who make this fantastic tournament happen. And it's so great to see Mohammed playing this year, having some fun. So let's see what he can do against Naranayan. A tough pairing.
Yeah, tough pairing. And I have to say, I prefer White's position right now because he's able to target this weak point on c6.
But that was a big mouse slip. I think he wanted queen f4.
He probably almost certainly wanted queen f4. And that was, it happens.
Let's move on. These 2, 5 and 6. Let's see who's fighting there. Maybe Grischuk. Grischuk has a streak going. And he's so close. It would be great to see Grischuk qualify.
It would be fantastic. Yeah.
I see a question in the chat. Why isn't Danya playing? Danya is playing over the board. This I did not know. I was thinking maybe we will see him later today. But yeah, for sure, it would be great to have Danya back, our finalist from last year, only losing out to Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, I mean, it would be wonderful. I don't know if he can make the evening session or not. So yeah, Grischuk here in this game, material is he's down a pawn. And he's down 7 seconds and now down a rook. So that's a bad situation. And Grischuk does lose it. And this Magnus Carlsen 77 account
looks like we are going to find out who it is. Let's see one more Grischuk. Oh, against Matthew, who's also probably just not gonna make it. I guess all of these guys will probably see them back tonight. So let's see. Grischuk, he needs a win here. Desperately needs a win. And by the way, Blue Tiger, I know we were also talking about Daniel Naroditsky, so we were talking about the same guy. This time, not so classical, Alex. The pawn is on f4, the pawn is on g4.
Yeah, well, the last time Matthew had played f4 against Grischuk. So Grischuk said, he has a sense of humor, right, Grischuk? And so he says, okay, I can also do this. But you have to say, I don't know, this is getting completely crazy. Everything is hanging, everything is being taken. But in the end, whose king is less safe? In my opinion, Matthew's in trouble here because he's down in exchange. I'm a little bit surprised that the queens came off the board because that gives him a little bit of breathing room here. And now he does actually give back the exchange just to solve the problem with this pawn. It was too strong. But on the other hand, you still have to fancy white here. He's got this big pawn center, rook h7. Rook h7 was able to skewer that bishop and pick it up. But Grischuk, I think, just focused on what he knows to be a winning endgame. It doesn't matter that you're up in exchange. And maybe frustration, maybe a mouse slip. Matthew gives up the bishop and then resigns.
Shall we stick with Grischuk, actually? See if he can... quick look at the standings. So this is the cutoff. Let's stick with Grischuk, maybe.
Wow. So wait a second.
They're all on 91.
The cutoff.
Seven
people will qualify. But should we say something that potentially the eighth person, depending on how things evolve?
Yeah,
I mean, there is a chance.
The thing is, so if someone qualifies in the two arenas, their better placement will stand. But I don't think any of these players will want to count on maybe qualifying from 8th. Let's see. But yeah, there is a chance.
There is a chance, right? But yeah, I think you're right. They won't be, celebrating. Yes, got that sweet 8th spot. Nailed it. I somehow I can't picture someone like Grischuk, overjoyed at that 8th spot. And Grischuk he picks up this pawn on d4, and it's looking really, really, really nice with this 6 pawns against 5, but you've got 4 against 2 on the queen side. On the other hand, though, these are kind of weak on f6 and on h6. There's still a lot of work to do. The pawn was being hit here. Now, 91. 91 was missed there, an unfortunate miss for Grischuk. But nevertheless, I think Grischuk, he's just the kind of guy who's so focused on what he knows to be a win that he's not even really thinking about forks or anything like that.
But it's still interesting. That's 2 games in a row where we see him miss quite a basic tactic. Before it was the skewer, here the fork.
Yeah, and I think, again, this kind of mindset where you're focused on, well, this is a winning position, this is a winning endgame, this is whatever. It's a mindset that's going to serve you really well in blitz and in rapid and in classical. But when it comes to bullet especially, it's not just about winning, but it's about how fast you win in this format.
Grischuk, he's on fire. Let's stick with him. He's playing against Spodmedko.
This is a huge game for Grischuk, right? 11 minutes to go.
Yeah.
11 minutes to go.
Someone said.
No idea who it is. Maybe somebody in the chat can say.
Yeah, well, Angry Rich guy, but
I would be surprised. It feels like Dubov would have a higher rating than 2835.
He's the guy who also suggested earlier Sergey Zhigalko with, it is Dubov. Angry Twitch guy. Wow. I take it all back.
It's Dubov. This is confirmed. That's crazy. Dubov in 22nd place here. And what an opponent to have to face off against.
I mean, the thing is,
such an important battle.
He is so strong, of course, but we haven't seen him play, at least I haven't seen him play that much bullet, which can make a difference. But yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Grischuk seems to have a great position for now. F5, he's going for the attack. But on the other hand, knight d3 did shift over and grab this pawn. The black king is a little bit less safe than the white king, but neither king is fantastic, to be honest. H4 at any moment can rip open this diagonal. We see black's knights are very, very well placed. A couple of the knights have gone off the board, knight e3 with a nasty fork, but very clever point. If you take, the queen is actually going to be hanging. Knight d6, the position is so shaky for both sides. The rook is hanging. Now this knight is completely pinned, but on the other hand, this one is also pinned, so maybe you're going to go rook e2. The whole position is a complete mess. I have absolutely no idea what's going on, frankly. Queen goes to e7. And now rook takes e3, looking for queen d5 check. But after rook e6, this knight is actually just dropping. So he wasn't, white in the end wasn't able to untangle. Rook takes queen. The point is, this is going to be defended.
Tough loss.
That is a nasty, nasty one.
Especially was on fire. He had the streak. Everyone's lost their streak. We have nobody in the top 10.
Zhigalko, he just gained the streak and he's in 7th place. So Grischuk's loss is Zhigalko's win. He will not be unhappy about that.
Let's maybe see Martirosyan in 9th also fighting. What is this? He's down a pawn, but that pawn is so far advanced.
He's looking for king a6 and knight b6 with the mate, but that's why the knight is on e4. Not what we want to see, but Gyula Pap, he will, or Gabor Pap. Gyula or Gabor? Gyula, I think, yeah. Gabor, so. I think he's semi-retired or something.
And also he has 2 pieces.
Yeah. So Gyula Pap is now just looking to convert. And the fact that Martirosyan hasn't resigned and played on to checkmate, that's a bit of a sign of tilt.
Yeah.
Because you just have to resign in that spot.
There's 8 minutes to go in the arena. There is no time. Munir, by the way, Munir and Josef, they are just, busy. But Julia Pap, okay, let's see. He's on fire and he's suddenly up in 8th place. We haven't seen him all tournament long, but he is making that push.
Yeah. And he's playing,
Andrew, by the way, apparently is up to 25th place. He's really made a big push since we saw him, in the 80th something. It's going to be tough. If he berserks a lot, we could have, after this game, let's look at Andrew, see if he can.
Yeah, but it seems like even for Andrew, a little bit too much of a climb.
He's probably berserking everything. We'll see. So let's see, Julia Pap.
Steamrolling black here. And it's looking good. I think he's playing against, I think this is a German. Oh, no.
I think it's not true. I also thought it was that guy, but I don't think so.
Yeah, but the question is, okay, white is clearly much, much better. But the question is, how do you actually push this advantage forward? Because it's hard to push these pawns. Black has some kind of control. And, but we might see some kind of sacrificial idea. Bishop takes h5, though. Bishop takes d3 and then pick up the piece. That's a blunder from Julia Pap. He is down a piece. On the other hand, the king is so weak.
Oh, my goodness.
Bishop d4. It's crushing. It's crushing. It's absolutely crushing. It's just... but that's a nice defense. You need queen e5, I thought, so that you would be attacking this pawn and attacking the queen. But he does not have that. He misses that opportunity. So I think he's actually lost the advantage on the clock, but on the clock, he
should win on time. If he doesn't get mated.
Bishop d4. Okay. Just too little time for Dmitry.
6 minutes to go, Alex. Julia Pap still in 7th. This is going to be so close. Sorry. By the way, we have almost 3,000 players. Can we push it up? Final push, guy. 50 players are needed to get us to 3K. Sign up. Here's Andrew. Andrew is out. It's too the difference, the gap is too big. So where do we go? Who's Chessmaster?
Chessmaster.
He's playing a big game against Zhigalko, 8th and 9th place. I think whoever loses here will be out.
Yeah, and I'm playing some crazy position here. This is actually now I forget the name. I think the Ulvestad Gambit or something. It's a completely crazy stuff. But Zhigalko seems to, but what is known is that if white knows their stuff, knows their theory, then white is actually much, much better. And looks to me like Zhigalko knows his theory, right? Because he's wound up with these very, very strong pawns here in the center of the board. But on the other hand, black, still a lot of pressure. That rook was being hit. Now we're seeing h6, perhaps for bishop g5. I'm not quite sure what's going on. a3 kicking the knight, but the knight reroutes to d3, from which it presses. This is a nice move, pinning the knight. So rook b6 in order to defend the bishop. And now finally, white breaking through. And this is great play from Zhigalko. The point is bishop e3 targets the rook. And at the same time, the knight was targeted. So everything has fallen.
Too fast.
Everything has just fallen apart. Zhigalko, a beautiful game. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to actually explain just how nice that game was from Zhigalko, because the variation.
Let's watch this one. Double the berserk. 5 minutes to go in the arena. This game will be over in a minute max. So let's stick around. This is Chessmaster. He's in a must-win spot. That's why we're going to see more berserks now, because time is simply running out.
Yeah, and this game, it's looks like it got off to a great start for Chessmaster. And again, completely crazy. Have you noticed how wild almost all the games are that we watch? These guys,
absolutely insane.
Huge mouse slip. Huge mouse slip. He meant queen takes g5. Instead, he goes queen g6. And now you should probably not be playing on this position if you're Amin. Although Amin in 19th place, maybe he feels
probably was out anyway.
He's out. But that was a
Zhigalko. We have to go. Look at this. So, okay, we have 4 minutes to go. I don't know even where to look. 4 minutes to go. Zhigalko on 100 points. Spicy Caterpillar. So let's go to Zhigalko. Zhigalko needs a win. And he's playing Penguin, who berserked him. What is the king doing on f5? What is this madness?
Penguin did berserk him. But incredible. I mean, against any other player, you'd already be celebrating victory. But against Penguin, you know that you might get flagged here.
Yeah.
You know, Penguin might have only 6 seconds. Very clever stuff here.
Penguin is so tricky. He's so tricky. And now they've almost equal on time.
He's looking to push this pawn.
Oh my goodness.
He's going to actually manage to push it over to there.
I think he's going to flag him. He's going to flag him. And
he managed to pick up everything.
Oh my goodness.
And
Penguin is just...
And he's drunk. Let's not forget. Yeah, he's drunk at 6 a.m. or whatever. And he berserks him.
Penguin ruining.
That was...
Penguin's not going to qualify himself, but he's probably just ruined Sergey Zhigalko's qualifying chances. Chessmaster now trying to catch Spicy Caterpillar.
That one must have been difficult. He is streaming, so we probably saw the reaction.
What happened here? Chessmaster won the game. So Chessmaster, 2 minutes to go, Alex. Chessmaster is now, and Spicy Caterpillar, Ray Robson is suddenly out.
But if he gets a win here, I think he's back with some chances, right? So,
and Andrew apparently only 3 points away. Is that true? Is Andrew? Oh my goodness. Andrew is on 99 points. Shall we see? He's probably berserked again. I mean, if Penguin somehow qualifies,
he might do it. I think he's in great shape here. Let's take a look.
This would be insane.
93. We see the queen. Queen h3. We're looking at queen g2 mate. Rook takes, queen f1. So he takes queen g2 mate. Queen g2 is mate. And he's probably there. He's probably there, isn't he?
He's a 9. There.
He needs another win. We should watch, no?
Oh, this is so crazy. I mean,
we should watch.
If Andrew pulls this off.
And it's Zhigalko.
Oh my goodness.
It's incredible.
This would be the biggest comeback in history of all sports.
Yes.
That is so crazy. I had written him off. I should know better. I really should know better, but I had written him off.
But you know what's crazy is it's the 1 minute and 20 seconds that are left. It's practically only this amount of time, right? So this is it. It's all or nothing. He needs this win. And Zhigalko is playing very, very solid chess. Zhigalko is not in a mood to, help Penguin's hero story.
Yeah, but White Dancing Rockstar is making a great point. Zhigalko also needs a win and didn't berserk back, which is weird because this game, Black offered a draw, which was declined. Andrew is just going to miss out, I think. I think he's
it's over.
Just going to miss out.
He gets checkmated.
Wow.
It's over. Zhigalko picks up the win. Well, Zhigalko was leveraging.
But Zhigalko still a chance. He needs a berserk in that. He's going to this isn't going to finish in time. I think for Zhigalko, it's going to be heartbreak. Unless a draw gets him in, I don't know.
But if you're Penguin, you're probably thinking, God damn, why didn't Zhigalko berserk me? And then I might have had a chance.
Yeah.
And Zhigalko was like,
20 seconds
I'm not going to qualify.
I'm not 20 seconds to go. Oh, I don't know if I should stick with this game. Or why are these guys not?
13 seconds. I think it's not going to.
Why did Zhigalko not at least?
It's impossible. It's impossible for Zhigalko. Well, I don't think Jula would accept it. Zhigalko is going to be out. Ray will do it.
Oh my goodness.
And we have got the end.
Oh my goodness, Zhigalko made it.
How did Zhigalko do it?
I guess he drew in the last. I clicked away. Let's see. His last result is a draw. Oh my goodness.
But this was just a gift from Pap.
Yeah.
He just gifted it to him because he was way ahead on the clock. And Pap decided to be just very nice. And Ray Robson will be sending Pap a private message on League Chess.
Oh my God.
Incredible stuff.
So Zhigalko is
incredible.
Ray Robson is out. For Ray Robson, I mean, Ray was up there the whole time. That was
so Zhigalko's controversial strategy of not berserking back Penguin actually worked out. Incredible. Incredible.
That was so Menier Manager winning the tournament on 125. That is, I mean, big shout out to the international master Thomas Bertsen from the Netherlands. What a performance. I mean, just incredible performing at almost 3,000. Josef performing even higher. Josef and this player on Wednesday, we will find out who it is. As of now, we don't know.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Thomas Bertsen, to Josef Taher, to the mystery GM. Rasmus Vanne qualified, Julia Pap, Wizard, this was Nara Nayan, and Sergey Zhigalko. Those are our 7 qualifiers. Big commiserations to Ray Robson, who, you know, he was so close. And let me quickly pull up, if I can do it, at tonight's arena. So for tonight, there's plenty of time to still register. As you can see, that will start in 4.5 hours. So that's 9 p.m. Central European Summer Time, 10 p.m. Doha time, and it's 3 p.m. Eastern Time and noon Pacific. And you should absolutely check me on this and not trust me, but I think that's correct. So tonight, we see Penguin has already signed up. Zhigalko, we will see. Will he play again, or will he say, I've qualified, I don't need to come back? I expect a lot more big names to be added to this. Maybe next time. We didn't really see him in the first one. I don't even know if he played. But as you can see, for now, we're just under 1,000 players, but 4.5 hours to go. All of you can still sign up. All you have to do is, you can see it, it's just off the screen, but on that link on the top left, there is a registration form for you guys to fill out. And I think we're going to take a breather, Alex. We are going to take a breather, but thank you so much to all of you for watching. Let's pull the winners and the qualifiers up on stream one final time here. And yeah, big congratulations, not just to the winners, but to the 7 qualifiers. And we will be back. So it's in 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours from now, we will be back with the second qualifier arena. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you tonight. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you in a few hours.